So why did I go through all this work to change out the air dryer for something that I don't even think the air dryer was a problem about? Well, I alluded to it right here with the air connection. Because I don't have a shop air compressor out here to check my tire pressure, I use the onboard air compressor from the engine. And in general, I always tell people the engine's going to have a lot better air compressor than most shops because that's a pretty powerful diesel powering an air compressor. And I've usually found that the onboard air fills up tires faster than most shop air compressors. So if I were to just hook up the air hose back here, fire up the engine, let it build up air pressure again, get out my tire chuck, and then connect it. And we go to the tire here to check tire pressure. Let's see. Alright, it says it's at 90, 92. 92. Okay. Alright, we're still building up air pressure in here. Almost built up. Should pop off at the dryer here shortly. Just like that. So now if we just hack the system a little bit, off the shelf stuff that I have, I'm going to try to see if I can't explain a little bit of the problem that I'm having. Basically, when I go to fill up my tires, I run out of pressure trying to fill up my tires at very low pressure. Even though my gauge on the dash says I have about 110 on one tank and 100 on the other tank, and we already saw that it said 90 psi on the tire. Basically, when I go to fill up the tire, I'm not adding any air after this point. Even though I should have a little bit more pressure than I really do have. I get to a point where I get to a equalization and we start putting air in the tire, which doesn't seem right. See? 92. Like, and so it takes forever to fill a tire because I have to basically equalize the tire pressure with the onboard tank pressure before the compressor kicks back in again and pops it up to about you see it just popped up again to about 110 psi, and that takes forever. So I get it hooked back up again, and now we have good air pressure, but we're quickly losing air pressure because the air compressor is not kicking back in again. So I have to wait until the governor kicks the compressor back in again to start building pressure. And this can take almost 20 minutes to start filling up air in the tire. So if I disconnect that and I hook in my rudimentary pressure gauge here. Alright, so compressor just turned off. I have a pretty good sized leak right here. It turned off about 115. And so it's draining back down again. So the pressure, even though I have air pressure in the tank, the compressor's not going to turn back on again until I'm damn near below 95 psi again. And that's all controlled by a governor, which basically turns the air compressor on and off. There it goes. It kicked back in again. I guess that was about 90 psi, right? Then hopefully we can hear it kick back out again. I can hear air going into the tank. There, it just kicked out again. I heard it. Alright, so now you guys can understand what I'm talking about, hopefully. So I suspect I have a bad governor that's maybe out of specs, or it's just the original one and it's just a mechanical switch that's mounted back in the engine compartment that's supposed to kick the compressor off once it gets to the right pressure and kick back in again once it gets down to, I want to say it's about 100, 110 psi. 90 seems way too low for onboard. I can look at the specs, but I don't think it'll be very useful. So that's why I figured I'd start with the air dryer back there, since we're doing the air system, to make sure that we don't have any sort of problem with air supply, and it's just the air delivery system. Now for me, it's mostly an annoyance for filling up tires, but it could be a safety factor too, since my brakes are air brakes. So if you were to pump the brakes once, twice, 3 times, my air compressor still hasn't kicked back in again with the engine running, and so I can get some brake fade theoretically until it finally kicks back in. There we go, we're building air pressure again. So I'm suspecting maybe I need to replace that governor. It's a pretty inexpensive part, I think like $30, and it's pretty basic, and that's my plan now. I wanted to do a baseline to kind of show you guys what I'm talking about. And the customer I was talking to, they were having a very similar problem, with the exception of, I don't think their gauges were reading the same pressure too. So they didn't have pressure, they didn't have faith in their gauges, and it wasn't building up pressure enough for them too. So they replaced their governor. I got to thinking about it. Maybe that's my problem too. So let's go in the back. All right, so I already showed you back here. I have to lift up my bed just like that, and then I have this excess lift right here. I'm always impressed by the size of those valve covers. All right, I got my rudimentary kickstand here for this cover. So every governor location is different on every RV. Some are pretty obvious in the back engine compartment, just sitting there by themselves. I had to Google mine. Mine's on the back side of my air compressor. Now, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I have a new part right here that I already ordered, and I hope it's the right part. I haven't taken the old one off, obviously. But it's a pretty basic little valve. I don't know if it's a shuttle valve inside of this manifold right here. You have 3 fittings on it, and it just gets bolted on. Got a couple plugs and gaskets that it comes with. So theoretically, you can take this cap off and you can adjust the sensitivity of when the compressor gets turned on and off. But this is what turns the compressor on and off, basically, and sets the pressure on your tanks. And allows that little port down there at the air dryer filter to go psh, that everybody likes. I like that sound too. But for me, all my research says that that's my governor right there. So there's only 2 bolts on it, one there, one there. And I'm hoping, because it looks the same, it's the same part that I ordered. It also looks like it's the original one. So hopefully, just do a switch out right here, 2 bolts, 3 fittings maybe, and we're good. Well, I guess first things first is an air system, so what we need to do is drain the air out of it. Luckily for me, it's not too big a deal. Alright, I'm going to get out Mechanic's Best Friend, try to power wash this, keep the dirt down right. Alright, I assume this one is the main lead coming off the air compressor down to the dryer. So I think all we really have to do is take those 2 bolts off, and then we should have enough slack in the airlines to pull this thing back. Well, it looks like it's just a 1/2 inch bolt. I'll break both of those free. That wasn't too difficult. The whole thing's already moving. Let's see. One. Alright, there's the gasket. And there's the governor. Alright, so it looks to me like I just have push in fittings for the air. But before I disconnect those, I just need to make sure I label them. This one says UNLCL. I mean, does that look the same? It looks pretty similar. UNL2. Yeah, let me just label those real fast and then disconnect them. It's the only other thing I need to make sure is these bolts will go through. And they will. Jeez, this is going to be too simple, isn't it? Like always, I'm just going to cheat with a zip tie, and I'll mark the bottom one with a zip tie. That way there's no real question about if the mark got unmarked or not. See. Push in at the bottom and pull. Push in at the bottom and pull. I don't know, this might be too easy. I shouldn't show you guys how easy this is. Now, as I'm sure we all learned just a few weeks ago in South Carolina, sometimes it's easier just to get new fittings. These will be nice because these are swivel 90s, unlike these, so I don't even have to worry about where they land. I do think I need this exhaust port right there because it doesn't come with one. So I have to put that on, so I'll take that one off. It looks like there's a plug there. Now I have to put a plug right there and a plug right there. Oh, and a plug over here. Okay. Guess that's why it comes with plugs and why I have some thread sealant. Now, for those who might be curious, what I was talking about a few weeks ago in South Carolina, that was when I was at rvmax.us working underneath a Navigator. We were doing a whole bunch of airline fittings for the leveling system. And remember, this is going down the road. So make sure you have DOT approved air fittings. Don't just use some cheap stuff that you got at the big box hardware store. Like I said, these swivels, so it doesn't really matter where these tighten up to, because once they can be repositioned anywhere you want. All right, so it looks like it's a 3/16 hex key for the plugs. So I have to put some sealant on those too. So this is the mating surface where the gasset's going to go. That's, I guess, where the air comes out of the compressor, or to the compressor, who knows. But this one does get plugged off. He's all over me. All right, and I got two more to plug off on this side. All right, well, that's pretty much it. Now, if you're watching this, assuming I'm going to tell you how this actually works, I don't really know how it works. I'm sure I could Google it and figure it out, but I assume there's some spring pressure over right here, and where air comes in, when it overcomes the spring pressure, it kicks air over to the other side, which goes down to the dryer, on the shuttle of the dryer, and kicks that out. As we lose pressure on one side, it releases that spring pressure, and it allows it to start filling up air again. That's how I assume how everything works in my mind. Okay. Carefully clean off that mating surface there. Alright, so I have the old gasket, which I don't need, and the new gasket, which is right here. I'll get it started right there. Get you guys, I have to do this one-handed. Looks like I got the gasket through the bolt, or the bolt through the gasket. I'll tighten these up by hand. I mean, this is almost too easy of a job. I might want to be a diesel mechanic now. Now, why these are just push-in fittings. Let's see, the one with the zip tie goes on the bottom. This has a ring around it, so I'm going to cut that end off so that we have a better sealing surface. And to do that, I got my tubing cutter right here. Try to make it nice. Good. Cut. Pull it back. Pretty good. Do the second thing. Same thing on this one here. push it in. And we're tight. The thing I really want to do is get that zip tie off of there so it doesn't cause issues with somebody down the road. Okay, get that off. Get the flashlight out of there. And close off my valves again. Now all I do is let it air back up again, and I'll try it again, and hopefully this solved the problem. If it didn't, I don't know. Maybe there's not a problem. But I feel like I shouldn't have to wait so long to fill up my tires. 90 psi is not high enough. It should kick in a lot earlier. At least 100, 110 seems right to me. We'll go ahead and turn our cruise control on, resume, hopefully. That'll speed up air production a little bit faster. Alright, so it kicked out. I don't know what it kicked out at. We'll find out in a second. About the same, right? 110, 115. Make it a fair one. Let's go ahead and kick that off of high idle. Go ahead and hook up my air gauge again. Alright, unfortunately to my eye, it didn't look like it changed much. Other than the recovery seemed to be a lot faster. So I might have to adjust that governor anyways, and might have been all for naught. Maybe. Alright, let's try to add some air to it. I don't know, looks about the same to me. Try to release pressure until it kicks in. See, look, see? Now we're building pressure a lot faster once I let it go down. Alright, well, that's very disappointing. Let me see what I can do to alleviate that. So this wasn't supposed to be a video about showing you how to adjust your air governor. But, I mean, we're not even at 120 psi when it comes to the high side, or the tank is run at. So we just take that cap off. It just screws on over here. And you just have to loosen this jam nut there, and then by all accounts, just do a quarter turn. It gives you 4 psi more. So 2 quarter turns would be about 8 psi. And then we just tighten it back up. Now, of course, this is just for demonstration purposes only. You'll still want to verify each time you do this. You should probably only do it a quarter turn at a time. We don't want to overpressurize the system. And I will be doing this in the engine block, not on a vise right here. Now on this one, the slotted screw was a lot smaller and it needed a 10 millimeter instead of a 7/16 on the new one. Otherwise worked the same way. Oh, definitely did something, huh? No, we went up to 130 with half of a turn. Wow. Do you think that's too much? Should I go down like an 1/8 of a turn? Or do I try it? I think I'm gonna go with it. Let's see how we do now. Coming back up again. That was a lot better. I didn't even have to bleed off the pressure. Oh my gosh, look at that. I don't know, that might be the answer, guys. 102. I don't know, that's about a good pressure for me. Alright, the last thing I'll do is I'll hook it up to my rudimentary air pressure gauge right there. You guys can see where it kicks in and kicks out this time. And I'm sure some people are thinking 130 is a little bit high. I've seen these at 135, so it's hard for me to say that. I know there's about a 25-year-old motorhome though too. So this gauge is only reading when we're doing the tire, that's about when it kicked back in again. It was about 10 whatever. See if it kicks back in. If that changes anything. Yep, look at that. It's already kicked back in. It didn't make it down to 95. Now if I release, no, I don't want to release it. See when it kicks out. Alright, we made it to 120. You can hear the tank topping off, it sounds like. Yeah, we haven't kicked out yet in the back. So it looks like that's 125. There it went, 125. I'm actually pretty good with 125. Well, there you have it, guys. Maybe I didn't need to change out the air governor, but it is 25, 26 years old, and I thought maybe it was just weak over time. Maybe I just needed to adjust it. Maybe I should save that. Should I save the old part? No, I won't save the old part. It was $20. I don't know, maybe $28. I don't remember. It was fairly inexpensive. 2 bolts, fittings. I think it's pretty much almost a do-it-yourself job, especially for some of these RVs because it's in the back engine compartment, very easy to get to. I just have to put the RV back together, and I think we're about ready to head down the road. I won't be concerned about air tank issues, and 125 psi. I feel really good about that pressure running in the tanks and on the line. So overall, I think this was a good repair. Did I have to change it out? Probably not, but I don't feel bad about doing it. And one last thing. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Bye. So there you have it. It can be done. I got dirt on my face.